there's a lot that has happened this last week, and the first one is a big topic. It is the ending of the current universe for DC.
Whoa.
This started off, and there's so many angles to talk about with this. So, and I've heard multiple reports. I'm not sure what's true. I'll tell you what I've heard. And for those who are watching, feel free to correct me or let me know the latest. But apparently, Gal Gadot, Cavill, Momoa are all gone. Ben Affleck, gone. And Ezra Miller, it might be in it or not. I saw something saying he was, and I'm not really sure what that means.
That's the weirdest part of it all.
That is the weirdest part of it all.
Jesus.
Because he's the one that had a lot of trouble, a lot of weird things going
They're
on.
going to keep him and Amber Heard. Everybody else is out.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So I don't know. So there's a lot to talk about here because I have an idea of what's going on, of what I think is happening, of course. And you have to add in that, which we'll talk about, and we can all discuss it. We have to add in Black Adam. Because Black Adam did not do well, okay? And supposedly, I don't know what it's up to now, but they were, I'll give a number that's close to what's going on so people can see it, because I don't know, again, I don't know where we're at. But it was something like $30 million. They're saying that they're in profit, right? So at the time, $35 million, I believe. And then it came out, somebody was saying that, well, to get there, to cross that finish line of profit, that Warner Brothers sold the rights to play, the licensing, whatever it would be, for Black Adam to HBO, which is their own company. And it put them in for the negative for $80 million is what I heard. Again, all these numbers could be wrong, but I heard $80 million, and that brought them up to the line and then over the line. And then The Rock went out and said, hey, we made $35 million. Hey, you got to start somewhere. Captain America only made a certain amount of money and didn't do so great as what we're seeing right now. And then he stopped following all of DC and like Warner Brother accounts.
He's like separating himself on
completely
social media,
separate,
right?
yeah. And he went so hard. There's so many things that he went through in these different videos popping up. How hard he went, like this. Besides him talking about, "This is gonna be the best." I've talked about this before. This is gonna be the best defining moment of my career. Which was when he said that, I was like, "Oh, okay, it could be." Yeah, we didn't know at the time. And then him coming out and saying that's going to completely change the landscape and all this stuff. And supposedly on the back end, where he was fighting to get Cavill back in, supposedly.
I think I read something about that too.
Right. They were saying that he was like kind of throwing his weight around, so I want him back.
Yeah.
And I have so many thoughts about it, like what's really going on. So he fought him back. He appears in it. Okay. He appears in the movie for a cameo. In October, they say he's back. He's back. Here it is, guys.
Yeah.
And there's a big announcement at a convention. And then now, as of days ago, he's out. So I have a lot of thoughts on this. I'm going to let you guys, if you have something you want to say, what are you thinking going on? Otherwise, I'll tell you what I'm thinking.
I was confused because I watched Black Adam and I saw, like, him pop up in there. And it was like, oh, what's going on now? Because then I had just heard the news, too, like that he was not going to be
It's weird to see it
that
post,
character anymore.
post
And then
the
I
news.
just see him. There he is.
Right.
And so, what's going on, DC? What's going on? Because...
Very familiar question.
Right? That seems like that's what people are asking all the time. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, I don't know. It seemed like they had some really good things going for them. That's what I thought.
Yeah, they had this big regime change, and I want to like James Gunn. I like some of the stuff he's done, but I don't know if he's the guy axing everybody or what. But it's really a lot of changes,
right? So
not ones that necessarily needed to be made. I don't think too many people are complaining about the actors playing those roles.
Right.
I
mean, you figure if they're bringing in a new regime, they're bringing in James Gunn. Like maybe this is his decision to like tell the fans, like, hey,
that Chris Pratt is going to be playing Superman.
Chris Pratt will be playing every single role.
Michael Rooker will definitely be in there somewhere.
So many.
But no, like this, I think this might be just his way of like telling the fans, like, "Hey, we're taking this in a whole new direction now." Like, I see we're not as popular as Marvel was. Like, we're just starting from scratch and doing things my way, my direction from the very beginning.
It might not be a bad thing, but it's going to be weird, and it seems like there's not a great reason to let some of those people go. But
right,
I mean, just new management. New employees, new team.
So here's my thoughts. One, if I had to guess what they were going to do for the future, and who knows, they could just do the same thing again. They may avoid origin stories because I feel like we're done with origin stories, right?
Yeah, come on.
Please.
I have a feeling they're going to go because a lot of the cartoons in DC are great. They're really good, you know? And I have a feeling that they may try to launch in with Justice League established already in like their station above Earth and just start from there. And then you would have me, I'm sure a lot of people being like, oh, I'm on board. What are we going to do? What's happening, right?
Yeah. I mean, that
So,
sounds exciting.
I'm wondering if they're going to do that. They want to put a bookend on this version of the DC multiverse, and then they could the sooner they end it. Besides James Gunn coming in and changing direction, yes, that's happening. But I'm kind of just going a little deeper here. Besides, the faster they put a bookend on it, is the sooner they can get the movies going forward, and they can come back in and do the same thing that we saw with Spider-Man and start bringing in old Superman versus new Superman kind of thing. I think they're seeing that we have all these opportunities, but it can't happen now because think about it. If they extend forward, I guarantee you they're watching the numbers of Cavill being announced, coming in, seeing Black Adam come in, Dwayne The Rock Johnson's on it, Cavill's back in. They looked at the numbers and it did terrible, and they're like, you know what? It's just not working. And it's not. People love Cavill, but the numbers are not there.
Yeah.
So I think they need to end it, move on, and then figure out how to monetize it better. And I think a while ago when they stopped, when the whole thing kind of fell apart, they were doing Shazam and Aquaman coming out, and then Wonder Woman 2. I think they were delaying it. They wanted to see if they can get back to at a time where they can come back and get people to care and get more invested. And I think they tried, and I think it failed. And then they're like, okay, we're putting it out, we're rebooting, and I think they're going to bring Cavill back, maybe with Wonder Woman, whoever, and then they're going to try to do like multiple Spider-Mans or multiple Batmans or a Batman Beyond in the future. I think all that cool stuff is in our future, but I think they have to move on to the next phase. That's just my thoughts.
But what do you think they're putting a bookend on? Though?
Right, that's what I was going to say. What do you think their bookend's going to be? Though? You think it's Black Adam is the bookend, or like is there going to be something after that? Or
I don't know.
What was next? What was next on the slate for? They had like 4 movies supposed to come out next year.
Yeah,
like a Blue Beetle movie and Wonder Woman 3 and.
I think they're gonna. I don't know. I if I had to guess,
the Flash movie is that happening or not? Aquaman 2.
So to say that Flash
finish these movies like. Not gonna...
So what you could do is, like Shazam has not been in with Cavill, right? That was supposed to happen, but it didn't happen, right? That cameo. So Shazam could be in the next universe, right? So they could be holding off on that. There's no reason why he can't appear with them, even though it seems like it's this. So they may have saved that. Aquaman is done. Godot is done. Affleck is done. So I imagine I would guess that anything new that we haven't seen in DC will be in the new one. If it's in the old one, I'd be very shocked. Why would you kill the entire main cast and say this is still in that universe? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
If they're relaunching it, James Gunn's in charge. I imagine he's saying okay, and I've just got rid of all these people, so it has to be in the new one.
So you think it's gonna be a whole alternate universe, not like almost like a soft reboot, like skip ahead to a time like you said where the Justice League is fully formed and they have some catastrophic thing that they need to work on, but just have new actors in the roles. You think they're just gonna?
I think so in some way.
On everything that they've done.
Yeah, I that's my guess. I mean, Shazam. Why would they? I think people love Shazam. I loved the movie. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought that Wonder Woman and Aquaman were like the standouts. Of the stuff I've seen. I've seen most of them, but
the first Wonder Woman, the second one, I thought was terrible.
I didn't think the second one was as terrible as people thought. It was definitely not nowhere near as good as the first one, but I didn't think it was completely horrible. I mean, there were parts of it that I liked.
Yeah, I feel like they resurrected the character Chris Pine just to do it because they felt like it needed him, and then
yeah, well, it was comical too. All the comedy came from kind of his
right.
Just weird to say in a movie that Kristen Wiig is in, but he was like the funny part of the movie, because of him being so 100 years out of time. You know.
Yeah, and I know the director who came out. Some might know her name. I can't remember her name. But she worked on it, and now I think she's working on Rogue Squadron.
Oh, maybe.
I heard that she got let go from both of those projects.
She got let go from both.
That's what I heard that somewhere. That it seemed like she was difficult or something, but it doesn't. It seems like that's probably not the case at this point.
Oh, I read that she said
she passed on Rogue Squadron to do Wonder Woman 3 is what she had said.
But then she came back.
Going back to that now?
So she came back and Rogue Squadron was still going on. And then, but now she's like, I still don't know if it's still happening because apparently when you're in pre-production or even I guess production to some degree. They still don't know it's going to release, when it's going to release, or things like that.
Right.
That's what she was saying in the interview. But she talked about kind of the frustrations with Wonder Woman 2. And yeah, it was just a very weird movie. The first one was great. And I don't know. I feel like they were trying to accomplish something different than what was the natural flow of what the movie should be. And sometimes I feel like when you feel like that, I feel like that way with new Star Trek stuff. I feel like a lot of new Star Trek, it's like, this is what you have a feeling of what the movie's trying to do, and then you feel someone else coming in and trying to say, "Oh yeah, and this and that." And you're like, just do the story. Let's just do the thing. I don't want other things.
Now, I haven't seen the new Star Trek movies, but is Chris Pine not in those as well?
The shows, and some of them.
Oh, the shows. Okay.
Yeah, the shows are okay. Picard, it seems like a cash grab at this point. It's not really going great.
I only saw the first season.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
Strange New Worlds is like it's like a new one since if you don't know how much you know about the franchise, but that's pretty good. It's closest to being.
I've heard that's good.
Yeah, I like it. And then Discovery, I liked, but now I'm starting to really not care about it anymore. But anyway, yeah, who knows what they're gonna do? Shazam could be saved. I think they want to save it. Shazam felt like the first breath of fresh air in the DC universe. Would you agree with that or no?
Maybe, but I don't think that's like taking care of the core issues that a lot of people have with the DC universe.
Yes, well, James Gunn would and his partner, what's his partner's name? Do you remember?
Saffron?
Yes, something like that, or that's it. And they would be obviously the driving force on changing everything. They're keeping Peacemaker. Apparently, he wants to know the Peacemaker.
Yeah. Well, he's all over that.
Yes, he loves that.
He did the last Suicide Squad movie, right?
Yes.
After Marvel fired him.
Peacemaker was great.
Peacemaker
was
good.
That show
Yeah.
was so
Awesome.
fun. So fun to watch.
It was great.
But I mean, I do hope that like Superman and Batman aren't going to get like the Guardians of the Galaxy treatment now, where like every other line is a clever little quip, and everyone's clowning around with each other.
I think somewhere in the comments over all the people fussing over this, I saw some people that were saying like that they liked that the DC movies had a much more serious tone than the Marvel stuff, that it was less jokes and stuff like that. And I mean, I don't know how I feel one way or the other, but certainly they weren't as entertaining as the stuff that Marvel has been doing well for. Well, obviously people are bitching about Phase 4, so I guess
people are going to complain about everything.
The things that Marvel did well for the first 12 years.
I just think Marvel beat DC to the punch.
Absolutely.
And they just never caught up. And then they kept trying to relaunch. It was like, oh, if we do this, we'll get there. If we do this, we'll get there. And then everyone's like, they have burnout on superhero movies.
Yeah, when something didn't work, they changed directions. They pivoted pretty quick. Like, Thor: The Dark World wasn't a successful Thor movie with the fans, so they turned around and made a comedy next. That worked tremendously well. So
I mean, the thing that always like kind of kept me away from DC was that like I feel like in 2008 they had a lot of success with The Dark Knight and with the Nolan trilogy with Batman, and I feel like when they started to really sink their teeth into the DC universe, it was like Batman was dark, so now we're going to create these movies. And dark comic book movies are great.
Yeah.
Like this is what's going to separate us from Marvel, but dark. Everything is dark. Everything is dark. And like when I would see like a Superman trailer or like something for the Superman movie, like I don't want to see like muted blue colors and like a Superman who's like kind of demure. No, like Superman should be like a bastion of goodness. Like give me the bright blue, give me the waving cape, give me like this.
Yeah, he's an
like,
alien,
right? Yeah.
It's not like some guy dressing up,
Right. So like I feel like
superhero
there
guy.
should be like a difference between watching like a Superman movie and a Batman movie. Like it's like I just never really appreciated the viewpoint of like, well, this was dark, let's make this dark too. Like, there could have, I feel like each movie can have its own serious tone, and that can be the way it stands out from Marvel, but like dark and brooding and like self reflecting doesn't always have to be like the order of the day for all DC superheroes.
That was like Zack Snyder's MO, it seemed like. Yeah. But I thought Man of Steel was awesome. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was too long, but I found myself engaged in the movie. I love the fact that I felt horribly sad for Superman for most of that movie.
Which is like, odd, right?
Poor guy. Like,
right?
He's got no one like him. Anyway, he doesn't know what to do. He's like a destitute, wayward, all-powerful being.
Yeah.
I think the Supermans were good. I liked Superman vs. Batman. I thought it was good. I feel like it might be a hard. I've only watched it once actually. If I watched it in the theater, and I felt like it was very Shakespearean in the theater, and it's just because they were making it so dramatic and building it up to the end. The Martha thing at the end, dumb.
Say that name. Yeah, that was really lame.
Yeah, that was.
It's like someone realized something and they were like, "Oh my god, we're gonna go with this," and I see why you would choose it, but like it's not enough. It's not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that movie just that was the movie that was very apparent. They were just trying to catch up to Marvel, like in one movie.
Yes.
They were trying to cover like 6 years worth of work.
Exactly. That's
It was
exactly.
like we're just gonna leak all these other
statement.
characters in and put, why was Doomsday in it at all? It was very strange that they packed way too much into that movie.
Yes.
It would have needed to be 9 hours long, like the next Avatar movie that James Cameron's already saying.
and
9 hours.
Yes, we'll talk about that next. and before in the past, the current leadership was saying about Batman and Superman and such that they would never put them in a joint movie because they're too big, too iconic, and it just won't happen. And then when they were exactly what you just said, when they were trying to play catch up, they were like, "Well, let's do it."
Yeah. And let's throw 60 other characters in there too.
Yeah. So I feel like they made a run, and I even feel with Justice League, it's almost like they were trying to do it. I watched the dramatic black and white Justice League. I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. But again, I'm not as attached to it the same way I am to Marvel, and I think Marvel did a slow arc, a slow burn, and it did it right. And you had a pacing in the background. You don't agree?
To a certain extent, but go ahead, keep going.
I feel like Marvel from Iron Man on, they had that pressure about joining the characters up, which at the time was like a finger on the pulse of what's going on because that was cool. That was really cool. Now it's like old hat. Oh, you're gonna join them up? Cool, but it's not like what.
Right.
Because that's how it was in the past. We didn't have that before. And because they're on that, fast forward to now to 2021 when you have Spider-Man comes out and they're like, they're going to join all 3 Spider-Man. That was the finger on the pulse.
Yeah.
So Marvel, and kudos to Kevin Feige, is very aware of what is the coolest thing to do right now. Where are we at? And I think DC is just in the background saying like, oh, that's cool. We should do something like that. Yeah. What do we got here? A Cuisinart? Like, what's going on over here?
Their board meetings. The guy's like, well, Marvel just did this. Let's just do what they did.
I 100% believe that they go back and forth between this is our idea. Like, let's just do what Marvel's doing. Yeah. No, we can do this. But Marvel's doing this. We should just do that.
They're going to make a Superman movie with Brandon Routh and Dean Cain and Christopher Reeves. They're all coming back.
Right.
Not Cavill, though.
No, Cavill's out until a further date. But
George Reeves and
all the dead Supermen are coming back too.
Oh,
yes.
man.
If I was running this, if I was in charge of the story going forward, I would just go right to them, the space station above, and start it from there. And then you could make it just with the core group. You don't have to go to like the crazy amount of superheroes. You could do that later on, right? When you need to, but you could start there, and every one of those cartoons that I've seen, and they start the characters different ways. Who knows who? Maybe Batman doesn't know this person, or they do know each other, or they're already working with each other, or they're not. Figure whichever one you're going to do. Those stories where they start with the world in a bad place is the way to go, because how many stories start in the middle, and if you do it right, they can work. If you do it wrong, it can be terrible. Yeah. But Justice League. Long time to get there to the point of what's going on. You could have easily just wiped it off, start with an invasion, and maybe that would have been the better thing to do and spend the time in that rather than that. I hope they do something like that, and maybe they will. Maybe they will. I don't know.
I actually kind of like your idea of them just starting it with them all together as a team. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, we know the backstories, right? If they're so desperate for it and the movie's a huge hit, they could go ahead and make origin movies afterwards.
We don't
they have the actors locked up.
You never. I don't even think you really need. How many times to go back to an origin story and you're maybe happy Wolverine at the time. You were happy for a Wolverine movie, and you were like, okay, I'll take it because it's Wolverine, but I'd rather not have the origin. You don't really care.
Yeah, I agree.
Have you ever said in your life, I want the origin story, how this happened? You want another one.
There might have been a moment where I wanted an origin. Oh
Who?
man, I don't know, but
Who?
I feel like there was.
Who?
I don't know.
You know what's funny? I you mentioned Wolverine. When the X-Men movie came out, the first one, I was a big X-Men fan when I was younger, and I collected those comics for a few years. And I did not go see that movie in theaters. I was like, why would I want to see? Because they're just cashing in on, like all superhero movies that usually stink. I was like, they're just cashing in on the fact that Wolverine's popular and Halle Berry was popular and stuff. And I was like, they should be telling the story of the original X-Men, but that movie wouldn't make any money because Wolverine's not in it.
Right.
Like they should have, Cyclops and Beast and Iceman. And
we were just happy to get an X-Men movie and okay, hopefully it's good.
Like my buddy was all excited. He's like, you want to come? I was like, nope. I went to see it alone. Poor guy.
And the same thing. You can use that as another example too. I thought when the first one came out, I wanted to see them battling. What's the name of the bots?
The Sentinels.
Sentinels. I want to see them battling Sentinels. Take me right into it. Just start battling the Sentinels.
Right.
I don't need to see oh, who are you? Hello, hi, I'm Wolverine. No, just go. Agree or disagree?
I do agree with you because I feel like that's that's what you want to see in a comic book. Like you want to see the group together as a cohesive unit,
right?
And there's a common threat that they want to overcome as a team,
right?
And then as time goes on and you need to create some conflict within the group, you create that conflict and
get the fellowship together
on from there.
And if you want the origin, let's say that you felt like it was important to get it in there, flash it back. Flashback to a scene of the origin, give him a little bit, and that might be enough. You'd be surprised how that's enough. I would think.
But it's also very difficult to introduce a new character or a new group to an audience without actually introducing them, and just kind of saying, "Here's a guy, here's what he's doing," without saying "Here's how his superpower or here's how his unusual ability kind of was discovered or fits into the world that he's in." It's almost like you're being asked to start a movie like an act 2 without introducing characters to the audience, which is kind of tough to do. It's a little unnatural,
Yeah.
If I'm remembering correctly, in the second X-Men, they gave you a little bit of how Wolverine was created. Actually, it was about how he was created.
Oh yeah.
And that was cool. Like they melded it in, but then they kept it in the present, and then they had him appear again in one of the newer X-Men movies when he was just fresh out of the tank running around and he leaves. That was cool.
Right.
But
I will say I 100% agree with you when we got 2 Punisher movies, and the first movie we got with Thomas Jane, where it gave you the origin story of the Punisher, and I was like, this is okay, whatever. It's a Punisher movie. It's cool. I liked it. I enjoyed it. But then when Punisher Warzone came out, and it's just it was this much above being a B movie, and it's just a Punisher murdering people for an hour and a half. This is exactly
insane.
What I'm looking for.
Yeah.
That movie is awesome.
I couldn't.
That movie's
it's
crazy.
Just all Punisher killing people the whole time. It's
I couldn't
awesome.
disagree with you more. That is
Really?
That is a B movie.
That's okay. You can say that, but it
could be B plus though.
There's something
it's
crazy
violent
and
as hell.
special about that movie.
Yeah,
Yes,
but-
insane.
Yeah.
It really
So
is.
I think that's what it is. It's DC is trying to figure out. Black Adam did not do well, and it wasn't because they didn't get the biggest star in the world, because they did. One of Dan's faves, and it wasn't because they don't have the biggest character. Henry Cavill coming in as Superman. Obviously that's a build up to, I believe he's the villain towards Shazam, who is a cartoon obviously where they fight back and forth, I believe. Everything was right, but it's still wrong. It's just not working. And every time they try, they come in. I keep seeing $500 million or less. They're just not making those numbers. Marvel comes in $2 billion, $1 billion, 1.2, 700,000, 700 million rather. They're just not getting the same numbers. Everything they're doing is paling in comparison. And maybe it's because, again, Marvel did the slow burn. Because Marvel, if you think about it, you might get your aunt, your mother. It's they go see Marvel because they know just enough to go see it, and it's whatever. But I feel like if you had a Batman movie, they may not say. Depending, this is not for everybody. I'm generalizing, but
you're saying the accessibility of those movies maybe is a little wider. The audience is a little bit wider,
right?
Than perhaps some of these other ones.
Than Batman and Superman. There's not a single character in the MCU who's more character than Batman
or
Superman.
You're right. You're right. They're more iconic. They absolutely are more iconic. But again, sometimes I keep feeling the question here or the debate here is the right answer is not really the right answer because you would say, well, who should we make a movie for? A Superman movie? Like, well,
it's like
but they're going to see this one, but they're not going to see that one. So what's happening?
Right.
But that's the right answer, right? Because they're who's more famous? Superman, 100%. But they're not seeing that one. They're going to see
Marvel,
a raccoon with a rocket.
Right.
Yeah.
The first Guardians movie when you didn't know those characters. A lot of people that were introduced to those characters in those movies. Those first. I didn't know those comics.
Yes.
You know. And right off the bat,
I thought it was the worst thing ever. I was like, Marvel. I was like, I want them to do well, and I go, this is the wrong move. And it came out. It was the best thing ever.
When did you think it was the wrong move? Before the movie came out?
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right.
No,
I had no idea.
After. I was like, I want more. I
didn't know what I was in for, but when I started watching that movie, I was like, oh, this is great. Right off the bat, that movie was
fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah,
it's fantastic. So I even thought when Ant-Man came out, I was worried again. I was like, I don't know if Ant-Man's gonna do well. I never really liked the Ant-Man from the comics, from the cartoons, and you just didn't know. But they do well. They have misses. Marvel has misses. They have a few.
Oh yeah, well,
and I think even the new Thor is an example of kind of like a miss the mark. And I think they took what Waititi did with the last one, Ragnarok, and then try to do it again. And it just came off as like you're just doing a sequel to all the humor, and it's a little bit too much. And even after that, I want to say like a week after that, I saw Hemsworth comes out and he's like, yeah, but the next Thor, when we do it again, I need a more serious one, like, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, yes, because that one was just like too, it was funny with the hammer, with the coming up and being a thing. But that with the other jokes was a little bit too much. And it was just turned into a comedy, which is fine to a degree.
Yeah. The other one is too. Ragnarok is too.
Yeah.
But Ragnarok was when it was the right time. It was the finger on the pulse, and they needed to wake the character up, and Ragnarok was the answer, right? But then you go on to the next day. What's the answer? It's not the same answer anymore, and that's that's not easy to know. I'm sitting in a chair talking about $1 million spent,
hindsight,
right? But that was the wrong answer. Ragnarok was the right answer.
Ragnarok 2 was a perfect breath of fresh air because then the next movie came and they killed everybody off and snapped away half the universe. So it was.
Ragnarok 2? Did you?
No, Ragnarok was the right answer at the time. That because it was the next movie was much darker.
Right, and maybe that's what helped get it into production in that kind of mode because they know how serious it was going to get. Let's get something lighter, but it was right. It just worked. So it is what it is always about. I think what is the right answer, even though something may look like the right answer on paper, and who knows? I really hope that DC catches up and gets their I shouldn't say catch up because that's what they're trying to do. They need to do their own thing, get their own brand, because they're getting beat up left and right by Marvel, and Marvel's doing all the cool things. The multiverse is cool, what are you excited for right now? Like let's broaden it, right? You want a superhero movie, don't worry about who's in it. What kind of themes do you want? I think the multiverse theme is exciting. And putting 3 Spider-Mans together is exciting. Because you thought it was impossible. And then that's intelligent. And that's why they're winning on that. If I say DC in space with the space station coming down, does that get you excited? You said before that it did.
I think it's it's an interesting idea, but the thing is, I think if they're going to look at it as a straight competition with Marvel, which it is, but if they're looking at it that way, they're not going to catch up to Marvel. I mean, they need Marvel to just continue to stumble and fail in order to make it a level playing field. Because so for them to be like throwing up the white flag and giving up on everything that they have accomplished, it might be a great opportunity for them, but people might just be not invested in it anymore, no matter what they do with their next movie.
Yeah,
I agree.
You're going to lose some of the audience that they do have, and now who knows whatever comes next. It's real important for them because they'll turn around and they'll can James Gunn and his team, and
yeah, exactly. It could go bad.
Figure out something else to do. Half the reasons why I think they're doing this stuff is like we talked about last week with licensing deals with studios and stuff like that. Like they want to hold on to the brand, and not let it lapse. So sometimes they I think didn't Sony make the second Fantastic Four movie because they were going to have to give back the rights if they didn't do something with it.
Same thing with the Spider-Mans, I believe, too.
That's a great reason to make a multi-million-dollar
right.
movie.
Yeah. A lot of passion in the project, but you just have to make it. It's like doing your homework. You have to do this.
How much does Jessica Alba want? We need her back.
Every time I hear something like, why did they do this? Or why couldn't they do that? Anytime I hear the word like licensing or contracts. I'm just like, oh god,
right,
stupid world.
And you want to hear stories like Marvel with Civil War, like more people were jumping on it because they wanted to make it a really cool movie. You know, like Downey Jr. wasn't on it, and he's like, no, I'll be in it. And I think they took pay cuts, if I'm correct, and just to be in it because that was what it needed to be. And it was a Captain America movie, but it didn't have enough people in it, and they were like, let's go nuts here, let's do it. And that's what you want to see. Obi-Wan, Star Wars. We're not talking about Star Wars, but Obi-Wan, it seemed like a passion project. People were just excited to be on set. There's Darth Vader again. They're doing whatever they can to make it wonderful, and that's what you want, not, we have to make another movie or we lose it.
Take two. Cut. Yeah, no, we got it. We got it. We're good.
5 years from now, Marvel will own the rights to DC movies somehow.
If that happened, how would you feel if Marvel owned DC?
Oh, no.
Then you would see Batman and Iron Man in a movie together. It's a little too much. It's like putting a Jedi in Marvel, right?
Oh, man.
Did you guys see the Christmas special for Marvel?
Guardians?
Guardians?
Oh, yeah.
I checked it out.
Unbelievable.
I love that. I thought it was great.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, I hated it.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
God.
I just felt like they showed up to set and they were like, all right, we're going to read our lines once and we're going home. Like, nothing felt authentically delivered or anything.
Yeah, I agree, actually. I thought it was okay for a Christmas special, you know, but it was
that's how I feel.
But, you know,
you don't watch it like this is the movie. You just we're having fun. Like, this is what it is.
I'm also comparing it to the Star Wars Christmas special, which is terrible. So, like, you know, it's a little better than that.
Well, it was, it was clearly an homage to that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
it definitely had the feel of that, like, you know, Sunday night Wide World of Disney
type.
Definitely.
I felt like it was like old days WPIX.
Yeah.
You know, and holiday special, and it was time to watch it. And I feel like they know that, and that's why I think it worked.
Right. That was the charm. See, I think what you didn't like was the charm of it.
No. Like, I got the charm. I just feel like the actors didn't ham it into the charm enough. I felt like they showed up and were annoyed they were making the special. And they were just like, oh, okay, here we go. Like, Chris Pratt's lines, nothing sounded like he read it more than once. When I was watching it, I was like, he's just not.
It probably
delivering.
wasn't because they filmed that.
Probably they filmed it in 2 days.
They probably obviously they filmed it during when they had the other setup. They're like, here we go, let's film this.
Yeah. And by the way, Kevin Bacon was 100% invested in the role of Kevin Bacon.
He was.
Yes.
Kevin Bacon, I need you to be Kevin Bacon.
More Kevin Bacon-y.
Can you be more Bacon?
My kids have been playing that old 97 song from the beginning of the special non-stop at the Aliens play. I know Christmas is.
Really?
Oh my God.
I didn't think it was that great.
James is like trying to learn it on guitar. It's unbelievable.
Wow. Okay.
So.
That's funny. Yeah.
Well, that's what it is. You know, I thought it was fine. I liked it. I can, you know, but it's probably not what you wanted.
Yep.
Yeah. So, what is next for DC? I don't know. We're gonna find out. I mean, what are they going to keep? What are they going to connect? Again, I think Shazam. I think their best thing they could do is not connect it because why waste it? And they'll maybe throw in the other batch, or maybe they just put it out and just say whatever. But the fact of the whole thing, which last thing to discuss about this is, Cavill was brought on and announced in October, and then fired in November. And I have a couple of thoughts about that, and I'm wondering if The Rock made it a part of his agreement. Some people are saying there's tons and tons of rumors coming out about The Rock and what he asked for and what he did and what he didn't want to do. He had the opportunity to appear in Shazam 2, and he apparently chose not to. And there's a lot of talk about, as everyone knows, that he fought to get Cavill in his movie. So I'm wondering if they're looking at The Rock, and I guess on paper Rock is the right answer. Let's get him in here. So perhaps, just to put it out there as a possible, perhaps he fought for it, and they had to get it back in. They gave it to him, and then they were like, "Well, if this is something people will want, let's go for it." And so they announced him, but everything comes crashing down to the ground when the movie doesn't do. We announced Cavill, we brought in The Rock, we did it, and it didn't even make the money it needed to make, which wasn't like $1 billion. It barely broke 400 at the time, and maybe a little higher than that.
I know you wanted to button up the discussion, but I did have one more thing to throw out there because of the James Gunn connection and everything. And you were talking about, characters that haven't really run into the other characters. Where do you feel Suicide Squad falls in this? They're keeping Peacemaker, or are they keeping any of the rest of them?
Will they link him up with Suicide Squad? I don't know. I think it's going to be separate. It's going to be like a Deadpool thing, I think.
I feel like I had heard Margot Robbie is done as
She's Barbie now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
she's,
right.
she's everything now. She's another.
Yeah.
She's another person who's really working a lot. But yeah, I wonder if they're gonna write. I mean, I guess most of them are dead anyway at this point.
Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do. I can see them like just leaving it, and then if they like want to be interesting, pull one character and just say like, look, it exists together.
Yeah.
But like that's like a last thing. I think they're full blown concentrated on rebranding, and then doing something interesting that hasn't been done before. They want something fresh, and will they get it? If they don't get it again, like sell the company.
And where does the Robert Pattinson Batman lie in that?
Nowhere.
Yeah.
Nowhere.
That was a good movie though. Like cinematically,
I think
shot really well.
Had a good
does
look
anyone
to it.
Yeah.
I thought the kid who played Riddler was awesome.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but I heard it was really good.
Oh, really?
Does anyone know that there has to be the same kind of thing where they have to make a Batman movie? Because it seems like that is exactly the case.
I'm sure there is.
I think they just think it's going to make money every time they do it.
I think it's more than that. I agree with that, but I think that they have to make it because it feels like that. They
Maybe.
make way too many for it to be just like let's do it again. Just a little bit too many. How many Batman movies have we seen in our
lot.
lifetime?
A lot.
Yeah.
7,000.
It's like, come on.
Feels like 7,000.
Yeah, and we do. It's true. We do go like, okay, who is it this time?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
You know you're gonna see it eventually.
Jonah Hill. Okay.
I'd pass on that one. Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah. I
You're
think
like,
so.
totally normally I'd
You'd
pass,
be
but
so
I did have to go see it.
curious. Yeah, come on. Could you imagine?
Jonah Hill could do it. He's a good actor.
Yeah. Okay.
Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler.
Now that
They
I see,
should-
I love Adam Sandler.
As Batman.
They should let us just choose who we want to see as Batman, and let it be somebody ridiculous, and just like
a
go
random
for it.
poll.
Imagine he was
Oh,
amazing. You know,
man.
Michael Keaton faced a lot of flack when he was going on, and people were
Really?
saying he's a comedian, he has no business doing this, and he did it, and people were like, oh, he's good.
Well, Adam Sandler's been
He was
pivoting
great.
into more dramatic
Right.
roles. Like when he had
That's
Uncut
right.
Gems, that was great. See that
Yeah.
movie? That
I
was
did.
good.
Yes, that
Yeah.
was great. My wife hated it. I loved it.
Really? I love that movie.
I didn't
Yeah.
see it. I hated Punch Drunk Love when he did that years ago, but
This is good.
I'm sure he's good in it. I can't see him as a serious actor at all, but I'm sure he's good in it. I mean, I think what they said, Daniel Day-Lewis was like texting him that he was snubbed on the Academy Award
Oh.
nomination.
Really?
Right.
That's
Oh,
pretty high
man.
praise. If Daniel
Wow.
Day-Lewis is like, I'm so sorry that you didn't get nominated. You're awesome in that movie.
I feel like
Wow.
if Daniel Day-Lewis said anything to you, you should just be like, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for speaking to me.
He puts his carpentry tools down long enough to send you anything.
But you'll never know. He could just be acting though. So.
Yeah, that's true.
He's so
How do you
good.
trust him?
He's so good.
Hello.
You didn't know.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
I'm sorry. I like that one line made me want to not see that movie at all.
Which one line? From what?
There will be blood.
Well, you need to get over it.
Oh,
and go see the
that's
movie.
a good
Just
movie,
like-
man.
yeah,
you should,
but like-
you should watch that movie.
That's a
I'm,
good
like
I'm,
an
I'm, I'm
18-year-old movie.
sorry. Like
Yes.
you're giving me like the most dramatic actor of all time in this like another highly dramatic role, and he's like you're talking about milkshakes, and you
Screaming
go,
about milkshakes.
No,
It's one scene.
I don't care.
See,
Now I
this
just
is
wanna-
the problem with
I
movie
like- I don't-
advertising and trailers. Don't get me
I know.
started.
Wait,
See?
so you saw the movie?
No,
I
Yes,
don't-
that's exactly.
See,
Okay,
he
there you
saw
go.
the
There you
trailer,
go.
so
Exactly.
he
Like I saw the
Is there a
trailer, and
heavy-
like this is the only thing
The
I know
trailer
from that movie.
ruined it
This
for
Because
you.
you're-
Stupid.
That's why
You're
you
watching-
shouldn't
you're watching
watch
too-
trailers.
You're watching too much fluff and promo and not
Stop.
like getting down and just watching a good
Right.
movie, man.
Stop
Then-
watching
then-
trailers.
Then stop with the constant barrage of commercials and trailers.
Dan, I haven't seen the movie either. I'm with you on that. But I'm pretty sure that they're saying
Man.
there's context to that line. I have a feeling there's a heavy milkshake theme in there.
There is.
So
You
basically,
guys
he
need to
owns
What
stop
do you
talking
think
about that
they
movie,
are
okay?
mining
Just
for?
stop
he owns an
talking
ice
about
cream
it.
shop.
They're mining a froyo place.
Oh,
Right.
my
And then they
God.
built they build one, and then a rival person comes in, and he's telling him that he's going to drink up his milkshake.
He builds a giant straw.
Yeah.
Right.
And he sneaks across.
Right.
Right,
A
across
pipeline,
the street
a
into the other
straw
guys.
pipeline.
Yeah.
And he drinks it up, and he says, "I drink it up."
What a great
straw
concept.
You need
pipeline.
to see it. It's about rival ice cream shops.
Yeah.
What I would watch,
That's how come the ice cream.
I would definitely love to watch more of Daniel Day-Lewis saying ridiculous things in a highly dramatic tone, though.
I-
Bippity boppity boo.
Yes, I'm fine with it. I'm totally fine with it. Let's talk about the next topic. Happened today is Fortnite is in some trouble. They got in trouble, $520 million worth of trouble.
Wow.
They got in trouble because they apparently, two different things. They had it on where children who have a lot of things protecting them, obviously from video games and such things. Protecting them from the fact of being recorded, I believe, was one of the suits. And I believe their audio and like camera the information was being used, and personal information. And I believe that was already checked to be on or something like that. And whatever it was, it cost them around $250 million for that one.
Wow.
And then the other one was in the shop where they buy items in the game. Again, this is Fortnite. There was something they were doing about the graphics, which was kind of like they look at it almost like deception, where they're trying to like trick the kid into buying it. Something with the graphics that were used. And then they said that the refund button was put specifically in a difficult spot, which is a problem, which you can't do that.
Yeah.
And then they said that people that were trying to get a refund or trying to get their money back were somehow blocked. They would get their account blocked, and therefore they would lose access to everything they bought and forced to buy another account and do the same thing over again. So all these things went wrong. Everything was supposed to be protecting them that are in place to protect them was not happening, was failing. Overall, it cost them $520 million. Of course, they're above $30 billion at this point.
Wow,
that's crazy.
You know what would be really wild? If there was a company out there that just made money by putting out a quality product and they were profitable, like without tricking kids into buying shit and not being able to return it.
What country do you live in, sir?
I wonder what country I could be talking about right now.
Not America. Not the America I know.
Or I want to know. I want to live in a country where Black Adam is only making $400 million, so they have to shit can the entire history of the company. Only $400 million?
That's all it made.
I want to live in a country where they say, we have to make this movie to keep it. Okay, here's a $600 million budget.
Lose the license.
Just go, do whatever you want with it.
Geek Out now on something that is a big conversation. I even had with Chris inside recently, and he was curious about it. Immediately, I think we disagreed on it. The question is, what is the correct order to watch Star Wars movies? And if you want to, in this conversation, if you want to add in Mandalorian and Andor, of course, do so. We can count Rogue One. So I'm not even going to speak. What do we think? Damien, I have to go to you first. Oh, Liam?
I'd be honored.
Chronological.
Yeah.
Watch some chronological.
Chronological release?
No.
Chronological
timeline order.
Story-wise.
Timeline order.
What?
1,
Timeline
2, 3,
order.
4, 5.
This is we want to give a nice farewell to Liam for being on the show. We appreciate the time he spent with us, and we apologize to all the fans. We did not realize where Liam was on this.
No, if you're a fan, which we're all fans, then yeah, you watch it the right way.
Stop.
If you're a regular person, you tell them to watch
what's the
it.
right way now? What do you say?
Episode 1 through 9. Watch
in
it
number
in
order.
Timeline order
But
of
you've
the
already
series.
seen everything that happens. But what about the person who's never seen Star Wars?
They should watch a timeline order. It will be
Really?
a better
Interesting.
story for them if they watch it that way.
Interesting.
If you watch 4, 5, 6, and then you jump back, you're like, this is messy and gross and boo. Right? Everyone, that happened to all of us. But when you watch a timeline order first time through, they get invested into Anakin way more. And they see the growth of Vader, and it's a whole interesting story for them.
So the fact 4 gave birth to 5, and then 6, and then 1, then 2, then 3, and then obviously 7, 8, 9. And yes, that is completely out of order when you put it all together. But the perspective of watching it as it was released gives you focus to what you see things, you learn things, and you go, that's interesting. Now I want to see this, or at least there's enough in there where you go, I'd be curious about this, and leads you to that spot. So I think that you should watch it the way it was presented. And
the release order is the right order.
Yes, and if I think that if you go back and you watch it, you're ruining a lot of stuff for yourself. You're ruining all the cool things about Darth Vader,
especially the original trilogy. Yeah, you're losing all that stuff. If you don't,
because everyone knows Darth Vader is
what
Luke's
if
father
you didn't?
now.
No, not the kids.
Yes, everybody
I can't believe
knows.
you
Not
just
the kids.
ruined it for our fans out there.
No one is not spoiled by that. But
no, if you have a kid and he's 4 or 5 years old,
right? What do you do?
No way. Everyone knows. Everything's been spoiled for everyone. But what happens is
not new people who've been born.
I'm talking about regular people that haven't watched.
Regular people. Keep saying regular people. Who are regular people?
Like people our age, like Jackie, we watched it last year, and we watched the timeline order, and she enjoyed it in that format.
And
You know
she
what I
was
mean?
shocked
cool.
to
She
learn.
wasn't. Everyone knew Darth Vader's his father.
Because she knew that already. So, like,
But
again,
I'm saying most people know that. But
not most.
what happens is when you watch 1 to 3 and then you go to 4, like Obi-Wan and Darth Vader's relationship, like in the tension on the Death Star, is so much better.
How
This
about
actually
this?
before the Obi-Wan show came out, which I actually think the Obi-Wan show takes away from this element. But when you see Vader and him fight, and you're like, oh, like this. At that point, you're like, this is the first time they've seen each other since he left him to die,
like
and there's
20
like
years.
so like much passion there. You're like, dang.
You're talking about, I'm sorry, 3 to 4?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, even though now we know that's not the case.
Yeah,
because
that's why
Right.
I kind of didn't like Obi-Wan because of that, because it kind of took that away, that like tension there. It's like, oh well, if they actually were interacting a little bit,
Nathan's
kind of weird.
Nathan says, can't forget the Star Wars, Clone Wars, and Rebels cartoon. Jason
Right.
Spector says, if you watch it in timeline order, then you lose the big reveal at the end of Empire Strikes Back because you already know the truth.
See, but that I feel like is the biggest thing in the corner of the proponents of watching
It is.
5, 6 to 1, 2, 3.
It's by far the biggest.
It is.
And I do agree with Liam on that. I don't know if I have an opinion on this, but because I thought about it when I made my son start watching them. But I'll tell you what I did. But he you're right. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. You're not gonna, like, unless you've been, like, literally. If you made your son watch it now, he would be shocked. He would be shocked. But you know, like, by the time you show it to him, he's gonna already know.
I'm not bringing around Liam. Liam's gonna be like, just like take him in the corner and tell him the truth.
Listen,
like the new Santa
Claus, the Easter Bunny, and Darth Vader.
Is this gonna be two different episodes?
It's gonna end up hearing all of our nerd friends at your house.
It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
It's gonna be ruined for him unless you make him watch it. But
I'll be like, earmuffs. You can say anything
2
you want.
years old,
Put the
he's gonna
earmuffs on.
watch.
No problem.
Two, he's gonna watch. Otherwise,
The first thing he watches could be Star Wars.
He's gonna be like, say, Dad. I'm like, great. You're watching Star Wars. Learn this.
I'm glad that you're perfectly coherent now.
Learned it.
It might actually be beneficial because he won't get experience to a lot of like new looking like CGI and technologies yet. So like the first one, they might hold up to him. You know what I mean?
You're saying he should watch him in number
No, I'm saying
order.
if he wants to do it the way he wants to do it, the silly
then?
way, yeah, you know.
The silly way.
It's not the silly way.
Wow.
It's not
No,
the silly way.
All right, how about
I
this?
do-
Sorry, I was just gonna say, you want to go a little sillier, a little interesting. I think people should watch them 7, 8, 9, 4, 5, 6, then 1, 2, 3. How about that?
That makes
And
no
the
Why
reason,
7,
oh
8,
yeah,
9?
well, here's why it makes sense. You're starting off with the worst ones. Get them out of the way. Okay, just because whatever. Then
because whatever.
Because whatever. Just get those out of the way.
Because then you're really going to
might
want to
as
watch 6 more
well,
movies every year.
that's just it. If you could find somebody that could watch those and then still wants more, But then you gotta watch the original trilogy 4, 5, 6 before 1, 2, 3 because that keeps in, like, you won't know what's going on with the whole plot, of course, with Vader and everything, that you can kind of retain that. And 3 might be the best one.
Mhm.
Period.
3 is awesome.
Okay. I know everybody's like, especially
You're gonna
people,
get,
old people my age,
Can
and
we
older.
see some of the
I
comments
got
that he's
you.
gonna have for that?
Everybody's gonna be like, blah, 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 have a lot of
Comments
stuff
just
to say.
flying up.
It's blasphemy. I know it's blasphemy for somebody to say that. Like,
I don't think it's blasphemy. I just don't
It
think
could
it's
be.
as good as the original. I can't say that.
I know it's
not the best. The
tough
best
to
one.
say that. We all grew up with these movies. I grew up with them. I watched the original trilogy a lot as a kid. And 6 is probably my favorite, just my own personal favorite. But episode 3 is so good. It's really good.
It really is.
It's kind of the best movie out of all the movies. Okay,
It's not bad. It's good.
I'm not saying it's a bad movie.
I'm just saying
it's a good movie.
And so if you watched them 7, 8, 9, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, you'd end with 3. Which is
No, I don't
like
think you should ever
ending
do
on
that.
the strongest note. It's
Yeah,
so good.
That's your recommended order?
Well, as an alternative, say. The release order, is my
Your second
number one.
watch. For your
But
second
yes,
watch.
for your
7, 8
second watch, go in reverse. Go
It's like,
trilogies, 7, 8, 9.
It starts.
4, 5, 6.
It starts
If
with
you're gonna marathon it,
Reverse chronological.
I just think that at the end of the day, and yes, the Darth Vader reveal is a huge part of watching it in that order. But at the end of the day, it starts with Luke, and I think that keys into the kid watching the show and getting the magic of the Force, and you're introducing us to the Force. And that movie, I think, is special because it wasn't just George Lucas. I think it was the entire staff behind him, all contributing their ideas. And it didn't turn into what happened in the prequels, where like, Almighty George Lucas, tell us what the scene should be, and he and he says like, I want to do Mustafar, and then he just do what he says. It didn't happen in the first one. They were like, this is like this, so we have to leave it like this. Is that okay? He's like, okay, let's do that. Let's do this. And everyone worked together.
So you think 4 is the best one?
I do.
I can see that.
Hot
That's
take.
respectable. I respect that.
And I think the first one with the incredible editing of his wife, I think the 4 is the tightest movie.
It's really good. 4 is really good.
And I like how it ends, and then it goes into the super ending when they come back and destroy the Death Star. Spoiler alert. So
what?
I just think that, and then in many ways, Empire is a fantastic movie.
A lot of people think Empire is number 1.
Yes,
a lot of ways, are going to say Empire.
In a lot of ways, there's plenty of things about Empire that are better than the first one. But I feel like to start it off and being just a tight movie for what it is, coming out of nowhere, out of nothing, you don't know what this is. Yeah. Come on, 4 is a masterpiece in that way.
Empire can't stand alone. That's the problem with it. It's a really great. It might, again, you could say Empire is the best one, and you can have a good argument with anybody about that. But it can't stand alone. That's the problem with Empire.
Because of 4, you need 4 to get to.
You need 4. Yeah, you need everything else with it, but it's awesome. I mean, I can't.
Well, I honestly, actually, there's a good point, but I don't think any of them can stand alone except for
1.
Except for 4.
4 is what I meant to say.
Because even 3, if that's just standalone movies, like what the hell?
Yeah,
did I just watch?
really. No,
guy just got his legs cut off by his buddy.
We're just talking about sequels now.
I don't know if I've ever tried to watch 3 as if it's the only one. I don't know if that works or not.
I took what you were saying. Sure. I took what you were saying as 5 works because it's taking what we learned in 4 and really messing with it and really manipulating it, rather than besides the obvious can you watch a sequel before the original. 5 is really taking what you know and turning it on its head, and that's why that's what I was taking what you were saying.
Yeah.
As far as watching it in a series, at the end of the day, what are we talking about here? We're talking about experiencing a story and the drama, the catharsis of Vader's redemption. So and my favorite character in all of Star Wars is Anakin Skywalker, not badass ass-kicking Darth Vader. My favorite character is the tragic figure of Anakin Skywalker,
especially in the Phantom Menace.
Yes, especially in the Phantom Menace.
So are you saying that you want to watch it from 1 forward?
Yeah, you're going to be introduced to Anakin. You're going to see the drama that he goes through, why he turns to the dark side. Then when you're introduced to 4, you're introduced to Luke. You're introduced to the new hope of not just a new hope for the galaxy, but the new hope in finding the good that still lies within Anakin Skywalker. And then you learn yes, there even still is, even though the spoiler at the end of Empire, there's still some I keep saying the word catharsis, but there still is in you witnessing Luke learning that Vader is his father. And then when you get to the end and boom, you end the story with Vader's redemption. That's a story arc.
Okay, so how about this?
On paper, it sounds great.
All right, ready? So episode 1, then 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Then
what?
Yeah. Ready? 1. Let's see. 1, maybe 2. Let's see. I don't know. 1 and then.
What are you doing right now?
Figure out there's a way you could probably do
I got it.
Before they had the sequels. I had an idea about breaking them up like that. If you did 1 and then maybe 4 and 5 and then 2, 3 and then 6.
Start with 1 where someone gets their hand cut off.
Something like that.
I am on board with a supercut, which has been done a few times, where they try to take all the movies and they try to splice out all the useless parts.
Oh my God.
Even though I don't want to say that because you can have different experiences. The pod race scene is enjoyable. If you want to watch that in that movie. And each movie is different. Let them all be different. But that aside, it's cool to try to put them together and watch it and go. I remember the one that what's his name from the '70s show, Topher Grace made one.
I think so.
Yeah, he did one. And
was it? Did he do the episode 1 when there was almost no Jar Jar? Is that the one that he did? Or
I don't know. I can't remember what it was.
Like somebody did one like that.
There's a couple of times where you have to know what's happening, otherwise it just goes, and you're like, well, we don't know. You can't know this until you've seen it in the movie, but you've cut out the scenes, so whatever. But but yeah, I question most of your thinking.
I mean,
And do you consider yourself a good father to your children when you show them this out of order?
I
Did you show Olive?
No, it's
So
funny.
you consider yourself a good father when you model your life after Anakin Skywalker.
That's exactly what we're talking about. Answer any question first you wish.
Well, no, she like we were actually just talking about it today.
Really?
Yeah, because we watched Home Alone.
She's like, Dad, will you be a good father to me and show them in order that they were released? And you were like, no, I am your father. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
It's your destiny.
Oh man.
It's your destiny. No, I'll never watch it with you.
It can't be. It's impossible.
Search our DVD collection. See the order I've made, and know it be true. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say we watched Home Alone over the weekend, and like she saw
Watch
John.
started with part 3.
Yeah, we did. We started with.
What's gonna say?
What's going on in your house?
Home Alone 5.
What's going on in your home? You watched Home Alone Part 3 first. You've lost the entire conversation right now.
Then we started with the middle of the original Home Alone.
Oh no!
Home Alone.
You've lost this entire conversation.
Then
Oh,
we watched the first movie backwards from the end to the beginning.
Did you watch? You talking about the
burglars are fixing the house.
Did you
now.
watch the 2021 version from last year?
He cut out all the scenes with Harry because he doesn't like
Home
Joe
Alone.
Pesci.
Oh, we watched the original movie Home Alone.
You said you watched the third one first.
And I was lying to you because everyone else is.
Oh, I thought that was real.
No,
I thought it was real.
I was like, what's going on in your house?
Watched Home Alone.
okay. And then,
Period.
did you watch Home Alone 2?
This had nothing to do with the story.
Oh.
We watched Home Alone, and she saw John Williams' name come on the screen, and she was like, she looked at it. I was like, really, John? And I said, yeah, John Williams did all the music for this movie. So she goes, oh, okay, and she made a mental note of it. So today at dinner, I was like, you saw John Williams that he did the music for Home Alone, right? And she's like, yeah. So I was like, he did all the music for Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
She, oh, okay. So I was like, let's watch Star Wars.
Boom.
Nah, I don't want to watch Star Wars.
Oh, man.
So I still have to find a way to ease into
Because he was like, "What's story? It's a great story. Starts with Jar Jar Binks."
Yeah,
And she's like, "Nah, I'm not into that."
Well, no,
You're going to show her episode 1.
but,
She'd be
like-
like, nope.
Jen is a staunch, begin with episode 4. So,
Oh.
She's a smart woman.
it's going to
There
be
you
a battle.
go. Well,
She is.
It's gonna be a battle. What's gonna
It's
happen?
gonna be a
Oh,
battle.
man.
I don't know.
wow. All of a sudden, your household drama is very
So-
interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like, which
obviously-
way are they going to watch it?
You can't even say it's up to her because she don't know. This is the time you have to parent you. Someone's got to make a decision.
That's true.
Yeah.
Who's gonna
Or-
win?
I don't know. I
We
like
could have Jen on the show here.
man.
We could watch the debate.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
we could
Oh
get
man.
her.
Oh, we could bring her on remote. We could do that,
Oh,
right?
I would love that.
She's probably asleep right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, another day.
All right, well, we
Yeah.
can do that.
I think we need to do that.
We can make that
Absolutely.
We should have Olive
I
on as
wanna
well.
Yeah.
like a stray dog. Who's you gonna come on? Who's gonna watch the movie?
We'll stand here in the middle. Put Jen over there. She has to choose which parent.
Oh, that's so
Oh
terrible.
man.
But I don't know how it's gonna be. I mean, we first have to win the battle of we're
Will
going,
you watch a
yes,
Star
we're
Wars?
going to sit down and watch
First,
a movie.
first you have to win her
We got-
soul,
Right.
and then you
We're
can
gonna
battle.
Convince her these are good movies and you want to watch them.
Right.
So and it's crazy because she was listening to Carol of the Bells and she was telling Jen oh, this is a really good song. I like the song. It's a really dramatic song. I really like dramatic songs. And she said, I feel like this is a good song to play during a sword fight. And Jen's like, oh God. The whole John Williams thing happened.
Right.
And she's talking about
Right.
sword fights during
Right.
music. It's like, oh man,
Yeah.
we're so close.
Right.
We just can't
And
figure out how to...
Phantom Menace has the right. And what about which Indiana Jones did you watch first, Dan?
Can't you start with
What?
you start with Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Would you? Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
I have no strong opinion. Would you start with Crystal Skull?
No, I would not.
Why not?
I
Why
wouldn't
not?
start
Yeah,
with
why
the
wouldn't
fourth
you?
movie. And then,
It's like,
that's why.
Yeah,
okay.
I can't make up a reason why you would start to be funny. But
But I mean,
what if she was like, Dad, I will watch it, but I want to watch Crystal Skull first.
okay. I would tell her, like,
You
listen.
would throw her in the ground and like walk away.
No, I would
Like, here, rip VHS,
But
rip
I
it
mean,
apart. Here,
like-
try to
like-
watch this.
to play devil's advocate and take your side for a sec. I mean, if we're going in chronological order, Temple of Doom takes place before Raiders.
Right. I only say Temple of Doom because, again, that's my experience. I watch it first, but obviously Raiders is fine. There's nothing. It doesn't really matter. You just enjoy the movie.
Yeah, I mean, there's no continuity.
I guess Indiana
between movies
Jones,
the way there is with
Temple of
Star
Doom
Wars.
might work better for a kid because it's more visual. I feel with the traps and things like that. That would stick better with a kid, perhaps.
And there's a kid
than,
in it that has a major role. Too.
Yes, that's true.
Which,
and
you
then
know,
and then
that's
Raise
a
the
big
Lost
factor,
Ark.
too.
So I feel like me as a child, Raise the Lost Ark was harder for me to get into, and Indiana Jones had me
Me too.
glued because of the traps.
Me too. But when I did show my son Temple of Doom, he was terrified by the heart-ripping scene. So
So was I when I was a kid.
Oh,
yeah.
and there you go. There's a reason not to do it. You could just like skip that scene. Just tell him what
that's
happens.
the best scene
Yeah.
Okay.
in all of cinema.
Arriba!
of cinema.
We will now play the best scene.
That's like the first time we ever saw
Saved by the Bell
a
Hawaiian
rated
style.
R movie at my house. I think it was Alien. And my dad, I guess, wanted to see
Good
it.
one.
And it was like me and my older brother. We were young though. We were like 4 and 7. So
Oh,
he was trying to
God.
like skip all like the curse words and the bloody. He gave up after like 10 minutes because he would just like bleep it and then he would unbleep and they would say another one. He's like, I can't deal it. He
Yeah.
was like, you guys just don't tell mom. We just watched the whole thing.
Okay, guys, so that was it. That was our Geek Out for the week. Let us know what you think about it. What's the order that you should watch Star Wars in? Is it the correct order starting with 4, or is the incorrect order starting with 1? No, I'm kidding. What do you think? Should you start with 4? Should you start with 1? Should you start with 7? You're nuts if you think. If you say 7, you need to just go home. Or 8.
8675309.
What? If you start with 8, you're a sociopath.